Welcome to the Advanced Freelancing Podcast. Every week, you'll hear strategies for building your online service-based business your way. And now, here's your host, veteran freelancer, author, and TEDx speaker, Laura Briggs.
So you're thinking that maybe your freelance business should be an agency, or you've often wondered, what is it really like to have a business partner and grow a business in the creative space that's usually dominated by a lot of freelancers? You're going to love this episode. There are so many good tips in here about the power of recurring revenue, choosing the right business partner, visioning your company and deciding what it's going to look like and how you're going to navigate challenges from the beginning, and then evaluating things after the fact to make sure they work. I'm really thrilled to be able to showcase two incredible entrepreneurs that I met at Upwork's kickoff event in January this year, Jason Martin and Patrick Falvey. They have a great story behind Django Force. They've been very successful on Upwork and working with so many different clients. So if you've always been curious, what does it look like behind the scenes to really run an agency or to have a business that you grow with another person as a business partner, this is the episode for you. Thanks again for tuning in to the Advanced Freelancing Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Advanced Freelancing Podcast. I think this is only the second time in the 100+ episodes of this show that I have interviewed more than one person at a time. So I am very excited to share the story of Jason and Patrick, who I just met last month at an Upwork event in San Francisco. We're going to talk a lot about their agency that they have founded, how they do business with that, why an agency is a little bit different than working as maybe a solo freelancer, and how to know if it's the right fit for you. So welcome to the show, both of you. I'd love for you to each just take a second and introduce yourselves. Jason, if you want to start.
Sure. So my name is Jason Martin. I'm a managing partner of Django Force. And so I got my background in tech long ago in Austin, Texas, around the same time as the dot-com boom. So just jumped right into the technology world. Worked at a bunch of different companies, from big Fortune 100 companies to startups. And so I've always been involved in the tech industry. My background mainly is more on the creative side. So user interface design and project management, things like that. So that is kind of what I still play, like the role that I still play today. So I'll do that, and then also business operations as well, but mostly more on the creative side, whereas Patrick's more on the technical side, which makes us a great partnership.
Awesome. And what about you, Patrick?
Yeah, so I have a very deep interest in technology, and found that some time ago. Ended up just teaching myself how to code. Met Jason a while ago, and we decided, hey, we have all the pieces needed to go ahead and start a company. So we started Django Force together, creating custom apps for different various sizes of businesses. My role in the business, as Jason said, is more on the technical side. So I'll handle DevOps, resource acquisition, items like that. And so we're in our 4th year of business, and it's a pretty smooth partnership. Works out pretty well.
Yeah, it sounds like you balance each other out really well with the different skills that you bring to the table. When you joined up forces to start a business, did you have clients already that you were bringing into the business, or was this a total leap of faith? Like, we trust that between our skills, we can make this work?
Total trust. We didn't have any clients. I think we were just both on the same frequency. We knew that like the friendship and the trust was already in place. So when we jumped into this, or when we came up with the idea of doing this business, I think we were both on the same page that this can definitely work. We, aside from the skill set that we each have, we are both very ambitious and motivated, and have big dreams, and know that whatever we do, whether it was a technology company or a product, we could definitely make it work. So we just jumped right into it.
I love that. A real leap of faith.
It was.
It really was. Yeah.
It really was.
So it seemed like for both of you, you knew that it was going to make sense to team up. I feel like this is a challenge that a lot of freelancers face. Do I do this as a solopreneur and then I'm limited by how many clients I can serve at one time? or do I go the agency route? Why did you feel like the agency route with a partnership was the right fit for both of you?
I think a big part of it is just the skills that complement each other, the necessary skills that's needed to build a business, rather than just being a solo entrepreneur. We had big visions of building like a real business, like, having a big office with employees and things like that. We just had this vision of, doing that with enterprise clients, and that was the big interest for us. And also, there's a lot of benefits of having a partner to lean on also, and to bounce ideas off of, and just like you mentioned, Laura, just the balance. And there's tons of benefits to that compared to being a solo entrepreneur.
Yeah, it sounds like if you have the right person as a business partner, it really is a two heads are better than one scenario. But
Exactly.
I often hear people who have made the wrong decision with past business partners. So if there's a freelancer listening to this and they're like, man, that's my vision too. I want the agency, I want the company and business. How would you recommend they go about looking for a business partner who is going to be that right fit with balance?
I think it's so Patrick and I worked together in a workplace together. It wasn't our company, but we had different roles in the company, but we still worked together. He was the lead developer, and I was more overseeing the software project, just directing it and kind of overseeing the entire thing. And so we knew what each other could bring to the table as far as skills and work ethic and things like that. It was already displayed there. So it wasn't, it wasn't a shot in the dark. I've already seen what Patrick's capable of. I saw how quick he was to catch on to things and just how talented he was. And, all of those really good qualities that you would want in a partnership, I was able to see before we even took the leap of faith. So I think that was a huge thing for me. And I don't know if it would have worked otherwise, that's of course how we met, but I think seeing how each other works in a workplace is, I think that's very beneficial.
Yeah. And I'd tack onto that just by saying that, for anyone, thinking of starting their own business or agency, certainly, if you were to, thinking you didn't want to do it by yourself, I wouldn't necessarily recommend, posting an ad for a business partner out there. Certainly having a very high level of trust and confidence in your business partner is obviously essential. And so, like Jason said, we had a unique environment that allowed us to be aware of that before starting the business together. So, it was definitely the right choice looking back.
Yeah, I think that gut feeling just needs to be there, and there needs to be some type of experience working together before you make that type of commitment and decide that, we're in this for the long run as business partners. It's just one of those things. It sounds goofy, but you need to treat business partnerships just like a marriage. I mean, it's a very large commitment. if you want.
It's true in a way. I mean, you're in it for the long haul.
Sure. And that
exit.
It still has all the building blocks of them. I mean, like the trust and the foundation. I mean, I think that's a good way to look at it, because it's just so important. Otherwise, you're going to have problems down the line. The communication needs to be there. The trust, like I keep saying, all of those foundation principles need to be there in place.
Yeah, I've actually spoken to a couple of people. I definitely heard some horror stories, and the thing I hear the most of why business partnerships fail, the most common reason is lack of communication. If something starts getting to somebody, and they just kind of hold it in, that kind of festers. And luckily, Jason and I don't have that. We still haven't had our first fight. we may never. We may end up exiting the business and just kind of moving on to the next venture.
I keep
have our first fight then.
I think, exactly. I think that's how it's going to end up.
Yeah.
Well, that's good because there's so many stories out there about people who didn't pick the right partner for one reason or another. I imagine an element of it is deciding who's going to be best at doing the different parts of the business. I know in the book Traction, for example, they recommend that, usually there's a visionary and then there's an integrator who's someone who's doing like more of the actual implementing in the business. Do you find that it was easy to kind of say, hey, this person has this personality traits and preferences to work and the other one balances that out? Do you have tips on how to decide who's going to be responsible for what when there is more than one person involved?
Sure. I think that's a good question. I think at the beginning, you'll obviously have a plan of who does what, right? But as the business progresses and you get in real life scenarios and you start to gain that experience, things kind of shift. And so Patrick and I will find ourselves trying out different things and putting ourselves in different positions to see, just to experiment and see what works out best. And so, but yeah, definitely start out with a plan of who's going to do what based off of the skill sets that you already know exist. And as the business progresses and you're put in situations that you haven't been in before, and somebody really, in the partnership really stands out in this certain area, it would make sense for them to keep doing that. So that's my input on it.
I want to jump back to something else you mentioned in one of your earlier responses. It sounds like you have both narrowed in on a subset of clients, that being enterprise clients. So I'd love for you to kind of explain for the audience, what is an enterprise client and why did you both make the decision that this is really the type of client we want to work with and the type of projects we want to be involved on almost exclusively?
So I would define an enterprise client as this official definition is probably not accurate, but a larger company, oftentimes publicly traded, that has is a legitimate corporation. One of the main reasons why we prefer to work with those clients, one of the main reasons is that they understand software development most of the times. This typically isn't their first rodeo. They know what they're getting into, and software development is inherently just kind of a different process that it's helpful to understand before engaging in. So that's one thing. That's one reason. Another reason is that this level of client, this level of company typically has folks on their teams that you interact with that have a higher level of skill also, a higher level of professionalism, and also just a deeper understanding of what to expect when going through and completing the project.
And also from a business perspective, enterprise level clients, which I would consider, medium to large clients, maybe 100 employees or more. A great thing about these type of clients is that they're more ongoing, they're more long term, which is something that we're really after. Is we don't like the small projects that you do in a couple weeks or a month and then that's it, right? We want to be involved in the long term and have like a maintenance contract afterwards, and the great thing about the larger software projects is they're a living, breathing thing. They don't ever just stop. I mean, they need to be updated. Once the users start using the new software, new suggestions for features are requested, and so we would get the opportunity to build onto the software that we had already built. And from a business perspective, the maintenance contracts are huge because it's a recurring revenue. Another great thing about enterprise clients is you don't have as many budget issues. The budget's there. That's a huge thing. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you got to get paid for the work, and so you don't have to worry about chasing down the money as much. So I think those are some key points for me as far as going the enterprise client route. We had to build up to that. Honestly, we had to build up our portfolio and build up our online profiles. For instance, on Upwork, all of that's transparent. You have all of the reviews. It shows how many jobs you've done, how many hours, how much income you've made. it shows all of this. And, when you get to those bigger numbers, it makes it more appealing for enterprise level clients. And so, it kind of just fell into place as we got, and also they're more challenging. And we love new challenges, and we want a bigger, really cool, complex project. And it just naturally got to that point from starting.
Yeah, you touched on so many amazing points there. And I think that one of them is this idea that we don't just want those one-time projects. And a lot of time freelancers get stuck and they're like, well, yeah, I did this one project. How on earth can I keep that ongoing relationship? And you just gave a great example of that in software development. So it's not like it's limited to one type of freelancer. Look for those opportunities. How can I continue to interact with this client, provide value, make improvements? I feel like every type of freelancer has some form of that maintenance contract or ongoing work that they can do. It's just brainstorming, how do we match that up, and how does that fit into our process of selecting clients too, right? Like we want to be mindful of which client am I bringing on? Do they have that idea too that we could potentially work together long term?
100%.
Yeah. And I'd even to add on to that a little bit, I'd say something to recommend to folks listening that are just getting started out is really having that long-term mentality, can be extremely beneficial down the road as time goes on. So even looking at projects, so maybe it's a smaller project initially, but there's going to be a long-term engagement with that client for support, as opposed to a larger project initially that they have an in-house team that's going to support later. There could potentially be more value in that smaller initial project that it allows you to engage with the client over a longer period of time. Growing your business is going to really depend on expanding your client list, making sure that you accrue clients faster than you lose them.
Mm-hmm.
And having long-term clients is a great way to do that.
Yeah. And as an entrepreneur or business owner, you're obviously going to experience those ups and downs. So no matter what field that you're in, if you can come up with a creative way to provide value on a recurring basis and get your clients to, even if it's a small chunk of money, that adds up over time. And so when you do have those ebbs and flows, like your income can remain consistent throughout that, and you can, it makes it a little less stressful and easier when you have those downs. So there's a lot to be said about the recurring revenue model for sure. And if you can implement that somehow, I would highly suggest it.
This podcast episode is sponsored by my course, The Guide to Killing It on Upwork. Inside the course, you'll learn all my secret tips and tricks for how to search for jobs, find the right clients, have an amazing profile that attracts people to work with you before they even know you, and how to write a killer pitch that gets your clients' attention and stands you way above the competition. If you're interested in learning more about how to enroll in this course, check out tinyurl.com/guide to Upwork course. I imagine that that was something that really helped you all as you were scaling your company. Why don't you share a little bit? I know you've set really aggressive goals for your company and you've achieved them. And so I think that's very inspirational for people to hear. And I'm sure that along the way, there were some challenges. I think a lot of freelancers look at it as, I've either got to have this small business where I'm the solopreneur and my income is limited, or I've got to have this massive company where I've got 55 employees. And there's a lot of room in between. And so I'd love to hear your perspective on scaling meaningfully and then some of the obstacles that you encountered along that way.
Yeah. So, to be honest, we didn't scale correctly the first time. And having that recurring revenue was a big piece that was missing. So, like you said, we set big goals from the get-go, and we're very proud of having achieved almost all of them. But initially, early days of the company, really accelerated growth. Things are changing very quickly. We're thinking we need to expand. We need to expand the team, expand expertise across different technologies. And at the time, while we did have a lot of, a large influx and clientele and everything, looking back, we probably scaled a little bit too aggressively. And the main reason why I'd say is because at the time, in the early stages of the company, we didn't have that recurring revenue. So moving on now, it's, kind of scaling again, V2. We do have a lot of those contracts in place, and that allows us to project, create financial projections, right? It's a lot easier for us to project how much revenue we'll have coming in over the next 3 to 6 months, as opposed to having no maintenance contracts or no recurring revenue, right? So I'd say a big part of it was, realizing that we need that forecast, and we need a plan based on that forecast and scale according to what that forecast says is reasonable.
And how did you all decide, you mentioned that part of your vision is to have, employees, and I believe you have a physical office location and everything. So how did you make that decision of, we're going to go the employee route versus using freelancers or remote talent? And why was that the right fit for your business?
So at this time, So we started out, the way we started out and still are is Jason and I are still the only 2 employees of the company. We always did have an office space with Jason and I, and we have moved into a larger office space with the plan to expand locally and get more in-house full-time employees. I'd say the biggest reason for that decision would be just to, trying to find ways to optimize our company. And one of those attributes of our company that we always want to optimize is customer support, right? Response time, quality of response. And sometimes, having folks, if all you have are teams across the ocean, you're not always going to be able to give the best response. And so to mitigate that, what we've done is, we've basically given ourselves global coverage, right? So the idea being that we have the ability to respond to any sort of incident within a very short amount of time. Now, moving to remote teams that, share time zones all across the world so that we can give that response time is one step. And it's certainly improved customer experience and our customer service, we feel. The next step to take that into another level, to the next level, would be to get a larger in-house team. Again, just really improving on that response time. You can just walk into the next office and say, hey, give me this now, rather than, if somebody's remote, there might be a little bit of lag there.
Just to add on to that, having, I think having that face-to-face connection, the little powwows with multiple minds together in the same room. I think there's a lot to be said about that, where you could just, it's easier to do that when you have people, talented people in-house, where you can, like Patrick said, just go in and talk to them and have this discussion face to face, or everybody kind of be in the same room and have these types of discussions. And the type of, I would say another reason would be just when the level of clientele that we are going after, I think also just appreciates having, everybody under the same roof for I think maybe they're just not used to, just more of the gig economy, but rather than just having everybody under the same roof type of business. And I think having, a team in-house will help with specific clients who are looking for, that type of scenario.
That makes a lot of sense, because it sounds like from the beginning, you both have been really involved in figuring out what is the vision for this company, where do we want to go, and then what does it look like along the path to get there? Who are the people that are part of our team that are helping us get there? What type of clients are we working with? How do we balance each other out in a partnership? So vision is obviously very important to both of you. And I know that you both pretty much kind of manifested this Upwork appearance. So I would like the audience to hear that, and then kind of what role does, visioning and imagining these opportunities that you want to have and then taking the aligned action with it. What role does that play in the company?
Oh man, that's huge.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Take it, Jason. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, Pat knows I'm just so huge on visualization. I think it's a real thing. I think you can manifest what you have, what you have in mind, and you see it before it happens. I think this is a real thing, and I know Pat's on kind of the same train, and so it's amplified when there's two of us who own this business, and we have these vision sessions where we see ourselves and we get really excited as if it's already happened, like it's already there and it's happened. I mean, it's just a really amazing feeling. And so, earlier on with Upwork, we saw, when there was like this tipping point in mid 2018 where we just really started getting projects. Our profiles were, built up, and then things just started building momentum. And we're just like, man, we could really just be successful on Upwork. And we were just like, let's just stand out on Upwork and become one of the most well-known agencies within Upwork, and go to the headquarters in San Francisco and meet with executives. I mean, these are discussions we were having early on. And so we just kept with that vision and kept rehashing that vision. And, eventually we got the call and we got the invite. We got featured on Forbes. Tim Ferriss shared the Forbes article. All of Upwork saw this article, which really generated the interest in us and really got our name out within the company. And so we had a bunch of people from Upwork, reaching out to us. And so and then it just started from there. And then we were invited to go to the headquarters and meet with executives, and just seeing that was, man, I can't describe the feeling. It was really amazing being able to actually live out what we were envisioning 2 years prior.
How often do you all do visioning kind of sessions? I imagine there's probably something, when you're making your annual forecast for what's coming in the company the year ahead. Do you have, meetings and kind of like big picture strategy things more often than that?
I can take this one, Jason.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have our regularly scheduled ops meetings, but these vision sessions or visualization sessions, as we call them, they're very they're not structured. It's just, one of us gets excited and we just start, a lot of people would use the word dreaming. We use the word, visualizing. We visualize big, right? And we just, like Jason said, we just start talking about it. Like, this is where we're going to be, and we're going to do this and this. And we start getting all excited and pumped up about it. And then, that lasts for, it's very informal. It lasts for 5, 10 minutes, 15 maybe. And then we get all excited. We go back to work. And there's nothing formal that starts it, really.
Yeah, it's completely random. Like I'll start building up this vision in my head, and then I'll run into Patrick's office. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, so if we do this and we get here, this is going to happen. And then he'll just sit back with a big grin on his face and just hear me out. And then, then I'll just be like, that's all I got. And then I'll go back to the office.
Yeah, or like last night I was slacking Jason. I just start off the first line like imagine ... And I go into this whole spiel, like this functionality and product set that we're gonna have, and he's just like, love it. And yeah, we do that a lot.
That's so cool. And I love the idea that it's more spur of the moment, because as long as it's happening regularly, it's really driven by inspiration then, when you really are struck with that creativity and you're like, I have to share this idea. I really think this could be something. And I think not enough people do that visualization thing. And I've had some coaching clients who are like, that's silly. I don't believe in it, whatever. And it's like, but what is it going to hurt you to do it? Like, it's not going to cost you anything. It's not going to hurt you. Like, don't you want everything stacked in your favor when you're going for this big opportunity, or you have something that you want to achieve? Why not do the visualization? I mean, every little bit that tips things in your favor. And I think it's just helpful to put yourself in that position of, this isn't something I'm going to do. This is like something that I'm becoming, or my company is becoming. And so it's an obvious next step on our, future path that we can already see ourselves doing these things.
100%. And tying back into, our earlier conversation about, whether or not to have a business partner, or have one or not, this is a prime example of one of the great advantages of having a business partner is you can just, throw ideas off of them and have them add to it and bounce it back. And having somebody else to have that visualization session with is invaluable, in my opinion.
And one other thing also, if you don't mind me adding, all entrepreneurs are going to go through obstacles. and hard times. And during those times, it is really nice having somebody else to lean on who's going through it with you, who understands. And I think that's a huge part of it. When we run into obstacles or things that are challenging, I think we have a really good mindset when it comes to that. And it's more of a growth mindset. It's just, look, we use that obstacle as a opportunity to grow and become stronger. We want these types of obstacles to overcome. We want to get them out of the way. We want to understand them, and we want to focus on the solution rather than the actual problem. If we have some type of obstacle, we'll sit there and we'll talk through it. We'll do like a retrospective. We'll say, what can we do better? And we really take advantage of that opportunity when challenging times come. So don't let the stress overwhelm you, or that particular challenge or obstacle. Use it as an opportunity to really advance your business, because that is just crucial.
I love that, because you really have to build in that visioning and the strategy, before the things even happen, but also after you complete a project or after you do encounter an obstacle. There's always some type of a lesson to be learned there that is either going to help you avoid that obstacle in the future or decrease the chances of it, or you'll be faster and better at navigating it should it come up again. So lots of great tips there. And obviously a lot of power in the right business partnership. It has been such a pleasure to interview both of you. To kind of close things out, I'd love to hear where freelancers can go somewhere to learn more about what you both are doing.
Yeah, so they can visit our website. It's djangoforce.com, and I'll spell it out, DJANGOFORCE.com. It's just some programming speak, so we're used to having to spell it out. Or you can certainly find us on Upwork as well, by searching for our name, either first and last name, Jason Martin or Patrick Falvey, or even Django Force.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks again for being willing to come on the show and sharing so many amazing insights. There's a lot of great tips inside this episode.